And yeah, today with this crowd was super nice to win. Also beating Marquez and Pecco Bagnaia, I think is outstanding. And yeah, it was a long race. I didn't do the best start ever, but I think being second was perfect today because I think Pecco had the weight of the race. I was just trying to follow him. He was a good reference with this strange winds of today. And then 7 to go, I said, okay, I need to try. It's the moment. I saw he was struggling a bit on some corners, and then it was difficult to make the move. He was strong. I went wide the first time, but then the second time I did perfectly, and I was able to close the line and keep that position. Afterwards, I tried to push a lot to try to make the gap for, don't give him even a chance to try at the end. But I went wide on 3 to go, and then they catch me again. So it was, I was pretty nervous and tired at that time. But I was, last lap, I was pushing everything I had and winning here in Le Mans was special.
We saw afterwards you punched the screen, you lost your visor on the cool down lap, so we could see what that win meant to you, Jorge. Not just in terms of the championship, but it felt like a statement because you did beat Pecco, you did beat Mark in a real proper fight. Was that the reason why you were celebrating so strongly?
Yeah, for sure. You have a lot of riders. I think all the riders we have some doubts before starting the race. I know I am strong, but sometimes I have too many doubts. I think maybe I don't know the good I am. I think, and when I crossed that finish line, I was like, who is the number one? Who is the number one? And yeah, I think I don't have anything to demonstrate. I think about my future, I can say that the things that happen in the next races won't change. I mean, even if I win, even if I crash, I think I already did what I had to do.
Of course, with everything that's going on about contracts for next year, do you think you sent a big message to Ducati today?
Yeah, but for sure it's important. I think maybe it's more clear, but I think it won't change. I am the same rider as yesterday, same rider as Thursday. So if they have to take a decision, I think they have already choose. And whatever it is will be good. I think I really want to go to the Ducati factory team, but if they don't want me for whatever reason that we don't know, then I will give my talent to another people. Yeah, I think I am much stronger than last season. I think I'm always progressing. I think every year race, or maybe every year I am a better rider. You can see from my first season in MotoGP till now. And I don't know where I don't know how you say the top it is. No, I don't know where is the limit. Let's see with the time. I think we are doing a great job. I am improving a lot my skills, not only on the racetrack but also outside. The mentality, as a person, I also want to improve and be a better man. And hopefully this work worth it then on the track.
Nothing else to say.
And we're live. Welcome, everybody, back to the next episode of Florida Motor Talk, where we typically come together to talk about motorcycles, used bike deals, motorcycle racing at all levels. And today is no different than that. If you haven't noticed, I have a special guest that you've probably seen before, Mr. Andy Pale Rider on YouTube. If you haven't came across this guy yet, very knowledgeable. Guys knows pretty much anything about anything on two wheels. How are you doing, Andy?
I'm doing great, John. Thanks for having me on, and thanks for the warm welcome.
Yeah, man. And so we wanted to do just a quick little episode today as we go into the MotoGP weekend at Mugello, and we just wanted to talk about a couple things that were going on with that. Primarily the whole Ducati crazy rider swap situation that they have going on. So we just wanted to throw something together and just kind of talk about that real quick and share our thoughts. But you having a good week so far, Andy?
Yeah, man, it has been good. I was on vacation all last week, so it's that kind of harsh to get back to work, but it's heading, got the trailer almost half packed up. We're heading to Barber this weekend. Hopefully the liquid sunshine will stay away and I'll get to spin some laps. I'm not doing any coaching. I'll just be riding for myself this weekend.
And tearing it up. Is it did the forecast change as far as the rain? Is it looking a little better?
Yeah, you know how it is. It just depends. If I look at it today and look at it 12 hours from now, it's going to be different. Of course, the last time we were at Barber, it was supposed to rain all weekend, and we only missed the last session on Sunday. So we basically had 13 out of 14 sessions were bone dry, so that worked out great. So it kept a lot of people away since they thought it was going to rain perpetually. And I'm hoping that we're gonna have dry weather this weekend also.
Very cool. So you're pretty much a track specialist up there at this point, huh?
Oh, I couldn't tell you how many laps I've done. I mean, we've been riding on Barber. My God, I had to think about it. 2015, and they pretty much go there they go there every month from essentially March through November. So I mean, I have to do the math, but yeah, I'd probably it's in the thousands of laps probably I've done at Barber. It doesn't make me any faster, but at least at least I know at least where pit out and pit in is and how to get on and off the track.
Yeah, man. Me and my buddy Mike were supposed to get up there with you this weekend, but he had a couple things going on with his bike and his suspension, and it did not work out. I'm pretty bummed about it because I'm off work tomorrow and everything, man. So I guess it's going to be a 3-day weekend either way for me. But
well, still, if it rains, you won't miss it. But if it's going to be 70 degrees and cloudy and beautiful, then you're going to be kicking your. Did you pay for the weekend already or
no? Is it? But it was. I mean, it looked like it was still open.
Okay.
Up until last week too. So. Yeah,
that's the good part about riding in advance, man. That's the last group that sells that. So you can use typically almost day before the event. You can typically sign up for that.
Yeah. When real quick, when's your next race?
Well, I would say that the Weir Barber may be my next race. So yeah, I've been kind of struggling with some of my pace. So if I'm chipping away at it. But like if I can get back to I'm still even last weekend, I'm still 4 seconds off my. So I'm still trying to get back to something I think is a respectable time. And this weekend is going to be that litmus test. If I feel good on the bike, I mean I felt good on the. I mean actually I have been feeling good in terms of my riding. It's just the times aren't reflecting that. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, that's an interesting situation. Hey, just keep grinding it out. I mean,
yeah, that's all I'm doing. I'm just grinding. So
yeah, keep grinding. I'm sure they'll start coming back down, especially if you get some good weather this weekend. Get some PRs in there, maybe.
Yeah, I hope so.
Have a big weekend.
Yeah. I just put that Dunlop, that Sport Max, tire on the back because I mean the tire wear is actually really interesting at Barber. If your pressures are right, the tire wears so smoothly. And I mean I was looking at the tire and it wasn't chunking, it wasn't showing any cold or hot tears. I mean it's just smooth, just like they say, sand on the beach when the ocean and water comes back. It's just you could see some granularity, but nothing tearing it up. But I looked at the profile of the tire, and the back tire is almost like a V. So even though it looks great from the outside, you could see the separation between the compounds and then the V. So I'm like, that tire is getting there. And it was spinning last time I was there, but so that's why I just put that Dunlop on, see how that. And that was a Michelin, which actually wears really well at Barber, and try the Dunlop Sport Max out and see how that goes.
Yeah, I've been running those for years and I love them, but I kind of want to try the Pirellis now too because a couple of my buddies that are also on 600s are starting to gas those up. So just to try, but I haven't had any issues with the Dunlops or any reason to change. But I think the Pirellis are maybe like $20 cheaper.
Are they really? I guess they were more expensive. But
yeah.
The Dunlops are cheaper than the Michelins. I know that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's interesting. I didn't really have an appreciation for the price stratification.
Yeah, I mean, small victories. Take them when you can in this sport.
That's right.
Cool, man. Well, like I said, you're probably an even bigger MotoGP fan than I am, which is it's a crazy thing to be. But it's hard not to be at the current, with the current state of motorcycle racing, right?
Dude, this year is probably one of the craziest years. I mean, there's been some, yeah. I mean, we've been following it. Oh God, I mean, I'm trying to think back. Well, let me put it this way: we were at Koto when Marquez won his first race. So that's in 2013. So, and we've been to Koto for MotoGP 7 or 8 times. We went to Indy, one time also when that was 2015, I think the last race they had there. And yeah, it's really interesting to see how the machines and the riders come and go. And this year, especially with this, I kind of knew over the winter with 19 out of 22 riders where their contracts were up at the end of this year. I said, this is going to be crazy during this year, and it has not disappointed in the silly season. I mean, the silly season, you read these articles, it's changing by the hour practically in terms of the rumor mills.
Yeah. And the biggest story right now is what is Factory Ducati going to do for their second rider,
Yeah.
which can we even call him a second rider at this point with the caliber of rider that they're looking at to put in that spot?
They should just do what Honda did years ago and put 3 people on the red bike. I mean, way back when was it Stoner, Pedrosa, and Dovizioso when they were all riding a Honda. I mean, that would be one way to go. So I mean, one thing like read one article about Bagnaia. He thinks his preferred teammate is Bastianini, and so my wife and I were talking about that. It's like, well, yeah, because he's kicking the snot out of Bastianini. There's no competition there, even with full. And he's a fantastic rider. It's just I think after that injury he had last year, and he hasn't quite got all the way back to where he can be. So yeah, it's easy to kick him when he's down and say, oh yeah, I want him because he's not competition. He's so that's kind of, and he's not a problem child. He doesn't, but he doesn't get a lot of media attention either. So the spotlight is always in that factory is always on Pecco. It's not on Enea. So yeah, who would not want the spotlight, all the adulation, all the attention, all the results? I mean, he doesn't want any competition. I mean, that's one logic. That's one way to think about it. Is like he does not want the competition in this garage.
Yeah, and it was so weird too because when Bastianini got picked for the team, it was kind of we didn't know what the dynamic would be between him and Pecco because when Bastianini was picked, he was not on the level that Pecco was, and he's still not. So he was the obvious B rider, but you still knew that he was going to fight and challenge Bagnaia. And so we were kind of wondering how that dynamic was going to play out. But then he ended up getting hurt, and then we didn't see him. And we're really just now seeing him kind of, come into, come into the factory team and actually perform for an entire season. And like you said, he is quick. He is quick, but keeping with him, I mean, he would be the obvious number 2 rider, right?
But then he does this stupid shit like that, ignoring the long lap penalty once, but twice, and then he ignored the ride-through penalty. I mean, I can't imagine what the talk was like with him when he came into the garage. I mean, regardless if you agree or disagree with the decision, when you see it on the dashboard, it's like,
Yeah, and I think that's what his thing was, is that he felt that he had like slowed up enough or let enough time pass where he was just like, I'm gonna keep riding, we'll work it out on the back end and it won't be a big deal. Right. But lo and behold, now he's got what is like 32-second penalty coming into this week.
That's right. So he finished below Luca Marini, which is the ultimate mark of shame.
Yeah, that's tough. But so yeah, for those who've been living under a rock, the Factory Ducati team in MotoGP has a spot open. Well, and I guess we don't even know if it's a spot opening up because Bastianini might stay there, but they are having basically they're having to figure out who's going to be the second rider with Bagnaia, and then there's 3 riders that they're looking at who are, as we all know, as we were just talking about him, Enea, who is the current Factory Ducati rider with Pecco, and then Jorge Martin, the title challenger, and then the third challenger is most recently Marc Marquez. I mean, this just became a thing within like the past 2 races.
I told you, man. I think we exchanged text before or something that like, man, when he gets comfortable on that bike, man, look out. I mean, you can't take away his talent. I mean, that's the thing that's I think really appealing with Marquez. Like when he came in, he really revolutionized how people ride and get off the bike, and just the speed he showed right out of the gate. I mean, and you're seeing it now kind of with Acosta. Acosta is the next evolution of that, where he's just fearless and he's just goes balls out. So yeah, it would be interesting. Yeah, give Marquez, and he's on a year-old bike. Don't forget that. So I don't think. I mean, who knows at their level? You and I wouldn't be able to tell the damn difference. In terms of the bike and different ride. These guys, who really knows how different the bike capabilities are between the GP23 and the 24.
Yeah, and me and Tristan were talking about Marquez at the beginning of the season, like many episodes ago now, and we were basically saying, how Mark Marquez's season will play out would depend on like which version of Mark Marquez we got on the Ducati. If it was the Mark of old, right, the Mark that went out and broke his arm and doesn't know when to quit, is reckless, then the results are going to be the same.
Yeah.
But on the opposite side of that coin, we can get, I think we called him like old man Marquez, like a play on like the old man Wolverine kind of thing from the X-Men. But like I said, if we got old man Marquez, the more mature Mark Marquez, then he's going to be a problem. And that's clearly the Mark Marquez that we're dealing with right now.
I mean,
dangerous.
Going from the freaking fourth row of or the fourth or fifth row of the grid to 4 races essentially, and ending up on the podium. I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, that is just unheard of.
It's absurd.
The guy knows how to ride, man. I'll tell you what. So yeah, that's going to be really interesting. But again, Jorge is really, he can't do any more. He's leading the championship. He's winning races. He's, I think he didn't win this last weekend because I think Acosta basically forced him to kind of burn that tire up, and then by the time then Acosta crashed, and when Pecco came through, he was just managing the race, and he had a lot more tire left underneath him. Jorge's, he'd already spent his. So, but regardless, Jorge, he can't do any. Jorge Martin, he can't do any more to prove his ride. So yeah, it'll be interesting. But so I mean, I think that if they keep Enea, if like Ducati keeps Enea, they're probably going to obviously they absolutely are going to lose Jorge Martin, and he is kind of like the biggest threat, I would think, to Pecco. So if he goes somewhere else, like who knows where, KTM or Aprilia, that's going to be a big thorn in their side. So I would think they would want to keep Jorge, and he's honestly, I mean, I'm a Marquez fan, but Jorge is deserved. He has earned that freaking ride for that red seat, in my opinion. I don't think there's any question about that. Anyone can objectively see that. I mean, he almost won the championship last year, and he's just still crushed. He's doing better this year than he was kind of the same time last year in terms of his results.
Yeah, he is kind of along the same lines of Mark Marquez as far as mentality goes. I mean, because Jorge Martin was kind of in that same headspace as like old Mark. I mean, how many just silly things did he do like the last couple of seasons? How many points did he lose just making bad tire calls and pushing way too hard when he did? I mean, he's done that this year too, but just pushing way too hard where you don't need to. But he, as the season goes on, I mean, the consistency's there. You see a couple mistakes here and there, but overall, I mean, he's racing with a good head on his shoulders, and I mean that was apparent in the last race too. Like you said, when Pecco got out front, he kind of just was reserved, to the second, and was like, "I'm gonna take the points." But I think Jorge Martin, 2 years ago, maybe even like a season and a half ago, would have said, "Man, screw that."
Right, I'm going for it. Right.
Yeah, screw that. Second place, like I'm gone. But if you're going to be a world champ, I mean, you have to know when to just chill, right? You have to know when to just take the points.
It was smart on his part, and I mean, I think even at the end of last year, I think Jorge Martin showed a little, almost like adolescence, with him trying to play head games with Pecco, and like him, following him right on his ass, going out for qualifying or whatever. That's stupid shit. And I know it's a game, but it's like, I think this year he showed a little bit more maturity for sure. I wish they would make this damn decision. I mean, I'm honestly getting tired of reading some of the articles about it.
Yeah, and I mean, it's how hard is a decision is that? Because I mean, like you said, Jorge Martin on paper, what else can he possibly do?
Can't do anything, right? I mean, he's earned it. I mean, he really has.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing else he can do there. I mean, there's nothing. I mean, he's just a total package right now, complete and total package, and he's doing it. He's doing it outside of the factory team. He's doing it on a satellite team. I mean,
yeah, that's right.
Bike, but
so even though it's the same bike. So I mean, that's also interesting. Like if Marquez, and I don't think Marquez is going to. No, the other obvious kind of angle is kind of the marketing thing. Like what's going to sell more Ducatis. Jorge Martin, who's he's not controversial, but he's a little maybe bland. Whereas Marquez has all this history, has a huge following. I mean, he and the sponsorship level he would bring to Ducati would just be like trainloads of money heading into the into the factory. I can't believe they would do that for even with all that money, because Jorge Martin still has more runway ahead of him than Marquez. I mean, Marquez, he's not an old man by any means, but he's probably his better years are behind him than in front of him. So yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, and it's such a weird thing because you have to to truly appreciate Jorge Martin and what he's doing. You have to be a pretty hardcore fan because I think as far as just like raw ability, right, to get on a motorcycle and to look at a track and to understand how to go as fast as possible, I think that's Jorge Martin's superpower. I think that if
Hmm.
you take all these guys and put them on a brand new track and say go figure it out, I think Jorge Martin would be the fastest guy every
Yeah,
time.
I can't believe those guys they're on a different planet.
Yeah.
Just kind of like in terms of like Moto A, we were talking about Xavi Flores. I mean, he did that all last year. Tracks he'd never been to.
Hmm.
After the second session, he's already up in the top 5 in terms of lap times.
Yeah, and Petrucci did it before him and
That's
almost
right,
won.
right. And Loris Bass. I mean, all these guys. It's just like they're on a different level in terms of like understanding how to get around the track.
Yeah, but yeah, like you were saying, in terms of popularity, though, Jorge Martin kind of gets overlooked because of that. And then you have Marc Marquez, who everybody loves the comeback story, right? I mean, his
That's right.
story in MotoGP right now is from a marketing perspective. It's amazing. You're talking about a guy who was just done after you're talking about a guy who was at the tippy top, right? Like it just straight into the history books as soon as he stepped into the sports, right? The pinnacle.
Yeah.
And then, he's beaten the greats, Rossi, Lorenzo. I mean, he's beat everyone, right? And then he just starts tapering off. He gets the injury, goes through just through the mud, right? How many fans left Marc Marquez, man, through
The Marquez haters,
yeah, the
I mean,
haters, man.
well, shit. I mean, if you think back to that 2019 season he had, he won the championship by something ridiculous, like a record 150 points. I
Yeah,
mean,
lost
every race.
second place one race and
Yeah,
one
I mean, it was
DNF.
yeah. There's only one. Yeah, there's only one DNF now. Ironically, at Coda.
And just
Every other
first.
every other race was first or second the entire season. That is just ridiculous. And then whatever the opening round at Jerez, 2020, that's where he shouldn't. That race. I remember that he shouldn't have been. He just has that mentality, just like we were talking about Jorge a minute ago. He was in third, or he went off the track. I don't know if you remember that, and then he had to recover some places. And he was in second or third, and I think he was trying to pass either Quattararo or someone. He was like 3 laps left. He's trying to catch him. He was pushing like 120%, and that's how he ended up crashing. It was just an odd injury with the bike coming, following behind him and hitting him in the arm. But he could have done the Jorge instead of just settled for 16
just
points. He probably won at least another championship right there, because there was one season where it seems like no one wanted to win it. I think it's the year Mir won it. It's like it was.
But I think that's what needed to happen, right, for him to get to this point. I mean, that's like I said, just his story is so crazy, and then now we're having the comeback.
Yeah.
So Marc Marquez is without a doubt the most popular rider on the grid again, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he hadn't even won a race yet. But it's coming on the Ducati. But it's coming. So Jorge Martin, I mean, he's got just that raw talent, the raw ability. But then you have Marc Marquez with the sponsors, with the fans, with all the media attention. Like you said, who's going to sell more bikes? At the end of the day, that's what the
That's
racing
right.
effort is all about. So,
well, the other argument I've heard is like, does Ducati want to have Marquez on a bike where he could potentially win the championship on a satellite team? I mean, I wouldn't see it as a black eye, but you could see it. That's like, well, we turned down this guy. We didn't want him on the factory team, and if he goes and wins the championship on what I guess apparently possibly an updated bike, I mean, I don't know. That's something that they is a potential as an argument I've heard or I've read that they don't. that's another thing that it would be tough for them to swallow that pill. But Jorge Martin may do it this
Yeah,
year.
he's going to do it. Yeah,
I think
he might
he's
very
looking
well
like
do
he's
it.
going to. Sure.
Yeah, but I mean, you can never tell with like Pecco, man. Like when he locks in, it's over, and
Yeah.
he can definitely. I mean, he did it to Fabio Quartararo with even a bigger deficit. So
That's
I mean, the
unbelievable.
championship's
Yeah,
alive. Yeah,
it is.
championship's well alive right now.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, impossible choice. Mark Marquez was saying earlier. So I was watching the presser over in Italy from Mugello where they were doing all the interviews, and one of the guys asked Mark Marquez if he would go to Pramac if Jorge
Mm-hmm.
Martin left, and Mark was pretty much saying that he has no intention of going to like
That's
another
right.
like he's like I'm not leaving a satellite to go to another satellite, right?
That's right. That's what do you say? That's not an option.
Yeah.
So that's kind of interesting. Does he know something like, because Pramac, they're during that negotiation with Yamaha. So I mean, there's one thing, because apparently Yamaha's throwing big money at Pramac to come be our satellite team. And not Yamaha is not going to hire Mark Marquez after the years of bitterness with him
Yeah.
and Lorenzo and Rossi.
Yep.
So it could be that, or it could be that, probably maybe the more obvious answer is like he's comfortable with the team, the ecosystem he has around him right now, maybe, and to just, he's already made that switch from, God, was he at Honda for 14 years or whatever it was, and with all the crews and that Santi Hernandez, and he was, that he knew how to work with these people, and then he had to switch not only bikes but teams. And you could see, obviously, he's taken 3 or 4 races before he finally got into the groove, and now he's really picked up the pace. So if he did that again, you could say to another satellite team, even if it's an upgraded bike, it's all new players. Now, again, the bike is going to be more or less the same, but it would have enough. So I think that's why he's probably saying, no, I'm not going to go to Pramac, because it's just, I just don't want to reshuffle the deck in terms of his support system, again.
Yeah, and he's got every option in the world right now, and we're not even like halfway through the season.
Yeah, that's right. So, I mean, that's interesting also. Well, what's kind of weird? I think maybe I sent you an article about like KTM is kind of saying, they're pretty much said, even if Marquez is available, they're not going to take him, which is just like mind-boggling. It's like, like Acosta. I'm pretty sure Jack Miller is not going to have that orange seat next year. It's going to be Acosta's seat.
Oh yeah.
And but then that pit buyer said, like, well, Brad Binder, he's a contract with or one of his agent or whatever says he's got a contract for the factory ride. So it would be, again, the same argument. Would Marquez go to KTM on a satellite team? I don't think so. Marquez was on a KTM with Acosta on the factory team. That would be mind blowing. I mean,
that would be wild.
That would be so wild. I would almost love to see that, because I would think he would get on pretty well with the KTM. That seems like it's more of you see the way Acosta and Binder ride that damn bike. That's how that reminds me how Marquez would ride the Honda. But then, God, there's so many possibilities. But then, if Marquez does not go to Pramac, does that mean that Grassini's going to ask for the GP25 bike, the factory, the full factory spec bikes? And if they do, will they get it? I mean, that's also going to be an interesting conversation.
Yeah, I think. I think they would absolutely get the 25 if Mark stayed with them for sure. And man, and isn't Grassini like the biggest winners this season?
Dude, man, they're so happy. They're just
that's equivalent to Rossi when he went to Petronas, right? Like just
Yeah, it's funny actually. My wife's birthday was not long ago, and I actually ordered like a Grassini racing hat. They were or I tried to, sold out. Their merchandise must be just friggin'. Their factory's probably working 24/7 to pump out this this merchandise.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be legendary, iconic stuff at this point, and
it could be, yeah,
even more so if he stays with a full spec bike.
That's right.
But we know he's not going to. Or no, he's not going to another satellite. So then that means the staying of Grassini's a choice. KTM is not a choice, as you pointed out with the article,
Right.
where KTM wants to focus on their current riders, which
Yeah, I can't see Augusto Fernandez sticking. He's one of the ones that I think we will not see him next year. And nothing. I mean, the guy did great in Moto too, but he's just not. Well, just like like Remy Gardner. He won the damn Moto 2 championship, and they gave him like 1 year in MotoGP. And said, "Well, thanks for your sir. Here's the door, right?"
Yeah.
So I mean, it's a business. I get it. I mean, it seems like he didn't get any rope at all, where some of these other people kind of languish a bit. I can't see Augusto Fernandez sticking around. I honestly think Jack Miller's going to be looking for a ride next and go down to the. But who knows? You hear one thing from KTM that we want to keep and develop these riders, but it's like they're not produced. It's like Augusto Fernandez is battling Luca Marini for 21st place. You can't do that every race and keep your job.
And it depends on what the team's after, right? I mean, I get it that they want to be loyal to the riders. I mean, absolutely at the end of the day, but I mean, you're also running a business. I mean, if you're paying somebody and they're not performing, are you just going to keep paying them? Like the Taka Nakagami situation?
Yeah.
That's right. Keep paying him? I mean,
or maybe they think Acosta's going to sell a shitload of KTMs, because I mean he is the future of MotoGP. There's no doubt about it. That dude's it's just unbelievable how much talent that guy. He does like no development time. He's just going straight up his profile and his potential. I mean, obviously I don't want to see him beat Marquez, but you can't deny that guy's talent. It's ridiculous.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and I think that's what KTM's they're counting on him. That's why they're not too concerned with anything else right now. I mean, they've already got him. They just have to keep him happy, put him in the factory next season. Done.
You want someone like, I mean, I guess you could also think of it this way. Like if you had Acosta and Marquez, who's clearly obviously won multiple, 8 total championships, wouldn't he be the perfect kind of, mentor for Acosta to develop, and this is what you need to do to win and to share data with the two guys? I mean, that would be, I could see there'd be a huge benefit to having Marquez and Acosta on the same team.
Yeah, I mean, there's, like I said, Marquez is just like pure gold right now. I mean, there's no negatives to putting him in any team. Team right now.
Then do you think he'll stick with Gresini, or I think the only other option is really go to Aprilia with Aleix, retiring at the end of this year.
So Aleix, and then say, because you got Joe Roberts is going to come through too on an Aprilia.
I think so, but he'll be probably the track house.
The track house. Yeah, unless something really weird happens, and then I guess Maverick, they could potentially switch him around, but I don't see that happening right now. So yeah, I mean, Mark definitely.
I think Maverick's going to stay. He's got to be so frustrating, because I mean, you saw what he did at Coda. I mean, it was just fastest lap, pole position, sprint win, big race win, or whatever it was, and then like last weekend, where did he finish? 13th or 14th, something. I mean, he is so digital. Either he is full on. I mean, he made that look like child's play when he was at Coda, but he got the first turn on the opening lap, he got pushed out way wide, and then he worked his way all the way through the pack and ended up passing everyone like he was on a different bike. I mean, it was crazy. But then there's other weekends where it's like, where's Maverick at? So, but I mean, he has talent. I think they'll still. I think Aprilia will still keep him. I think he's going to stay in that seat, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't think he'll be going either. But I mean, if somebody else came along, hopefully they'd make way.
No, it could be Bastianini,
Yeah.
No, I think that's where if Marquez stays with Gresini, that's where Bastianini's probably going to end up. Is my guess. He's going to end up taking over Aprilia, Aleix's spot at Aprilia.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, with Mark too, we know that he's only going to leave for a factory, and I mean, it just says there's only just that one place he can go. Then
he'll go back to Honda
reasonably, yeah, and he's not going to Yamaha unless I mean, some really silly season stuff goes on.
That's right. That ain't going to happen. I mean, maybe 10 years from who knows, man. Honda is so lost, and I think Yamaha has at least shown some promise. I mean, Quattraro wouldn't have re-signed with them unless they had some firm plan on the books.
Mhm.
Honda is just like they're just like throwing darts at the dartboard and seeing which book gets close. I mean, it's unbelievable to me the hell they rested on what Marquez was doing for so long that, and then while he was essentially out for 3 years, the
Mhm.
bike development went nowhere. And then Ducati deserve credit. Shit, with 8 bikes on the grid, you got a ton of data, and they kept developing the bikes and hired all these um, aerodynamicists and looking at everything. I mean, all this crazy crap. I mean, a lot of that, if you dial back the clock, 4 or 5 years, when winglets, I mean, they're one of the first teams to put winglets on the bike, and now they're like everywhere. All this, the ride height device.
Yeah,
I mean,
ride
all
height
these
too.
innovations that launch control, all the stuff that Ducati has developed now has become mainstream, and they did that, and so they kind of had a running start on all the other teams who are just perpetually half step behind, and Honda's at least a full step behind. They just didn't do that. So I always laugh. My wife always laughs. It's like how many chief executives over at Honda are committing ritual suicide for the shame they've brought on the company.
Whole lot of them, man.
Right, I think so too.
A lot of them. And yeah, Ducati, they've really put just a bike together that mostly anybody can hop on and ride. I mean, Franco Morbidelli, we don't know what's going on with him. Not to get too off topic, but
Yeah, he's another.
but
I think
mostly, yeah. I
it's
mean,
tough, man. Franco had some good years at Yamaha, and then he did great in Moto too. But man, and I know he had that injury at preseason testing, or whatever, but he wasn't showing anything at Yamaha before he was injured. I mean, Quattraro were still consistently beating him, and this year he is on the same bike Jorge Martin is, and that is just showing. I mean, that is almost like Acosta and Augusto Fernandez. They are on the same bike, and one is performing up here, and the other one is like riding along the gravelly bottom.
Just nowhere to be seen.
Nowhere, yeah.
So yeah, there's a couple riders that are running out of excuses at this point for sure.
Yeah, I think so.
Morbidelli's at the top of the list.
You think so? You think he's the first to go?
Oh yeah. Sweet. So who do you think that the Factory Ducati team should pick then, out of Enea, Martin, or Marquez?
Oh, I think it's got to be Jorge Martin. There's no doubt. Again, we've been Marquez fans since we saw him win his first race. But
yeah,
Jorge, he can't. Like he said, he can't do any more. He is familiar with the bike. He's younger. The only drawback with him is that he doesn't have the social. He's not like the fan favorite. Not like he's done anything wrong. It's just it seems like obviously Marquez is a huger presence in fan base and sponsorship and all that. But I think Jorge, he's earned it in my opinion, and so I think he's going to get. I think he's going to get the factory seat, and then it's like, well, again, it's just he's half a step behind Jorge. Whether it's through injury or lousy riding this year or whatever. I mean, everyone's got a couple off weeks, but he just hasn't shown the talent that he did when he was with Grassini. So that's my pick. That Jorge's going to go get the factory seat.
Yeah, I mean, I agree too. I mean, Jorge would have to give Ducati a reason not to give him that seat at this point. It would pretty much be a crime if they skipped over him again.
I think so too. Right. And again, the downside, if he does not get the seat, he's going to take that talent to either whatever, Aprilia. Most likely, he's going to go to a competitor essentially with all that talent, and that's going to be a big pain in the ass for Ducati. I mean, they'd rather have him win under the Ducati umbrella, battling with Pecco, than for a rival, manufacturer to, show them up.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to let somebody like that go. I mean, and he's only getting better. I mean, he's been getting better the entire time. Where's he going to be in 2 years?
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, I agree. Keep Martin in on the Ducati, put him in the factory next to Pecco, and then just let them box all season. Just let them fight all season and
Well,
see who
yeah.
wins.
I mean, who is it? The Claudio Domenicali. He's already having a wet dream about having, 2 red riders on, 1-2 or 1-1-3, 2-3. He's already, loving those, pictures of Ducati 2 red bikes on the podium every weekend. So that's probably what's gonna happen.
Yeah, that's exactly what's going to. There's no reason to think
Right.
otherwise at this point. The numbers aren't lying.
But what's your prediction? What's going to happen with Marquez? That's what I'd like to know.
I think because I don't see him. So he wants to go to a factory, but does his desire to go to a factory does that matter more to him than continuing to get the results that he's always getting? Because if he goes to another factory, he's going to have to learn an entirely new bike.
Correct. Yep.
Now we've seen how quick he can adapt to a new bike, but once again, the Ducati is a special case. Will he be able to adapt like that to any bike that he gets on? Perhaps the KTM, but there's no seat there.
That's right.
Like I said, he's not going to a Honda, so he's getting on the Aprilia, which is, that's going to have pretty different characteristics than riding the Ducati. He said, I was just listening to another talk with Marc Marquez where he was saying that he's had to adjust his style to the Ducati because he's used to having that front end feel with the Honda and just pushing the front everywhere. And the Ducati rides a little bit differently than that. But he's just now like getting comfortable and adjusting his style where he can do that. So does he want to learn a new bike just to be in a factory? That's the question. And I think his results will be so good on the Ducati and he will be so comfortable on that thing by the end of the season that he won't. I think he would prefer to stay in the Ducati, even on the satellite, knowing that he can challenge. But it's a hard call with how much he talks about being in the factory. So
yeah, I think if he stays in place and Grassini gets the latest spec, if he gets the same spec bike that Pecco and likely Jorge get, I think that's going to keep him at Grassini. Now, of course, the whole Pramac, because their contract, I think their contract says something about if they stay with Ducati, they get the latest spec bike. So this is really going to that's another, this is such a crazy season in terms of all the moving pictures and what could happen and whatnot. Would Ducati have the 2 factory bikes? Obviously, would they, if Pramac stays with Ducati, they get the latest specs bike, and then would also they give 1 or 2 bikes to Grassini that are latest specs, and then next thing you know, the VR46 dudes are gonna be like, hey man, we want that bike also. So that's it is such a crazy season, man. So if he gets the Ducati, the latest spec Ducati at Grassini, I think that's where Marquez is going to stay. If not, then I think he's going to go to Aprilia. Even though it is, to exactly what you said, learning a new bike, interacting with a new crowd. Aprilia wants to win, man. The CEO, the principal of Aprilia, man, they want to see that Aprilia on the top step of the box, and they would love nothing better than for Aprilia to have a bike with a number 1 plate on it. That being said, they're going to get the best talent they can, whether it is Enea or Jorge, or I think they're going to sign one of those 3. Whoever is the missing musical chairs when the music's up and who doesn't have a ride, that they're going to Aprilia, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. So Enea's probably going to be on the Aprilia, taking Alessio Spargaro's spot. Jorge Martin to the factory, and then like I said, it just makes sense that Mark stays with Grassini on the 25 and just waits. Like I said, even though he's just talking so much about being in the factory, but
right.
I think that's what we're looking at, unless something just comes way out of left field.
I think so too. I think that's probably the most plausible, scenario. Yeah, but you never know. I mean, there's some crazy stuff going on. Who knows?
Yeah, it's a silly season, man. See all these storylines and people still out here watching football
Oh,
and
fuck that. I mean,
basketball. What are y'all What are y'all doing, man?
right. Yeah, I don't care for any of those sports, but anyway. So who you? Let's see. Name four riders you don't think who are going to be gone. Completely out of MotoGP next year.
Oh well, that's pretty easy.
Well, Morbidelli. I think we told you your feeling about him. Yeah.
But I think he'll still have a ride though. Even
Okay.
I do think he might funnel down somewhere.
To the Honda.
To like a Tech 3, like KTM or something.
Not even. I mean, I think. Go ahead. So you think Morbidelli's going to stay in MotoGP? Okay.
Yeah, I think he'll get slotted in somewhere because I mean the team. It seems like the teams would prefer to keep somebody that's already established than to take a chance and bring somebody up. Is what it looks like, unless they're just an all-star. But I think that's the preference. But yeah, well, Taka Nakagami for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, they're probably going to keep him, but I think that he should be out. Augusto Fernandez hasn't been doing anything. Free that seat up. I think other than that though, all the Honda guys are they're gonna be.
Oh, you think?
Locked in.
Where do you think Joanne Mears going to go? His contract is up this season also, so that's.
Oh man,
he's got a raw deal with that Honda, man.
Yeah, and I'm looking at his results now: 17th, 16th, 17th, last 3 races.
That's rough.
That is rough, but I mean, who else are they gonna get? They don't have a choice.
I mean, you named at least one of them. It's like if Morbidelli or Jack Miller do not have rides, the Honda is like the safety net to stay in MotoGP.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Joey Mears guy, he's another dude is quietly just on the Suzuki went about his business. I mean, if he doesn't go to I could see him trying to on with like gas if Fernandez is out there. I could see him maybe going there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, one of the other names Miguel Oliveira. I'm not sure if he's going to be around. I think Joe Roberts is going to take his spot.
Yeah.
And then but then they got so Ducati still got to bring up that Fermin Aldeguer. Where are they going to put him? I mean, they're not the VR46 guys are not going to get rid of Digia. But
I think
Bezzecchi, he had a great year last year, but then this year he's really struggling. Do you dump him after? Oh man, where are they going to find room for these people?
Yeah, I think Digi's on a 1-year deal too.
Yes, yeah, that's right.
So he might, he might very well.
He says he needs a factory bike also, is what he said. There was some article today about that. Let's not get carried away. I mean, the guy is certainly improved. Well, the thing I don't like about him is he didn't do shit until basically it's like, hey man, you're out of a ride next year. And then it seemed like, oh, I guess I got to perform here. No, then maybe just coincidence or whatever. But he didn't do anything with Grassini until basically he saw the writing on the wall, and then he really improved his riding. So now for him to say he's finished, I think that 5th or 6th was probably his best finish this year. He says, I need a factory bike. Like, wow, slow down there, Tex.
Yeah, I was like, calm down, man, because he's like, just calm down. He's not terrible this season for sure. 7th, 6th, and 5th for his last 3 finishes. So he's he's getting it done. He's getting it done.
What did Bez done this year? I mean, I know he's crashed out of a couple. Le Mans, I think he crashed out of both the sprint and race.
Yeah, DNF. But before that, so he's had a 3rd place and then a DNF, and then the last race he finished 11th.
A little erratic, on his performance.
Mm-hmm. But I think he's going to bounce back this weekend. I mean, we're going to Italy, so all the Italian guys, they're
they're going to be pumped
they show
up,
up. Yeah, they show
right.
up. But I mean, I think that's Miguel Oliveira is definitely got to watch out for a seat. Taka, I think Mears is going to be all right.
He's not going to
Augusta.
re-sign with He's not going to re-sign with the Honda though. There's no way.
Yeah.
He'd rather retire than like he's going through what Marquez went through last year. He's like thinking about quitting rather than riding that Honda for another year.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, Augusto and then Franco. Old Frankie. You have to keep an eye on these guys.
Yeah, that's right. So actually, that will
space.
free up another. So maybe Furman Aldeguer goes to Pramac. Now again, this is also assuming that Yamaha doesn't buy Pramac. So if man, this is just so complicated. So seems like there's 8 or 9 seats for potentially 6 bikes. So that's
man. See, that's why we love racing, man.
Yeah.
People out here watching golf and volleyball. Come on, man. Y'all got to start watching racing.
Man, all you got to do is show that picture of, Jorge Martin dragging his freaking shoulder through that turn 5 at Barcelona. Man,
yeah.
I mean, the whole friggin' side of his shoulder just dragging along the pavement. That's like
it's great, isn't it?
Can't comprehend that. I really can't. Some people are happy to get their elbow down. I mean, I think even on my best day, I'm probably still inches away from getting my elbow down, let alone my shoulder.
Yeah, man. Man, they're having to lift their shoulders up and like lift their thighs up off the ground.
I mean, just the lean angle is they're on another planet. Absolutely.
So this weekend, who do you think is going to win the full race?
Man, I think Pecco is going to be jacked up to win the full race. Now his sprint performances, I think he'll come together. He may not. Trying to think. I think Pecco's going to win the big race, and then Jorge's going to be, unless he crashes or something, is going to be on the podium. Now, who's going to be not also on the podium? Yeah, it could be. Man, Acosta, man, he's been looking so good lately. And the other thing is that KTM is a freaking rocket ship, man. I mean, that's like one of the few bikes that's passing the Ducatis. So that's, but he just really just needs some seasoning. And again, this is where like bouncing stuff off someone like Marquez would certainly help in terms of, Marquez and Pecco, they knew how to manage their tires. Now Jorge kind of got caught up with Acosta and burning his tires up, but I mean, Acosta just like go, and I get that, but these tires aren't going to last the whole race at that kind of pace. So yeah, I'm gonna go with I'm gonna say Acosta is going to be on the podium. I don't think it's one of Marquez's favorite tracks. Watch out at Assen and then the Saxon Ring. Marquez is going to be right up there the whole weekend, in my opinion. But at Mugello, I think so. Yeah, it's going to be Jorge Martin, Pecco, and I'm going to go with Acosta for the big race.
Cool. Yeah, I think it's going to be a like an Italian lockout this go around.
Okay.
There's a lot of hype around it, so I'm thinking Pecco for the win, and then Bezzecchi and Digi.
Oh, okay. Oh, interesting. I actually thought about Digi, but not Bastianini though. I thought you were going to say him for a minute there.
Yeah, just Pecco, Marco, and then Digi. I think the VR guys are going to show up out there in Italy. Rossi's going to be out there watching.
That's right. They're going to have the freaking yellow smoke blowing, halfway across the countryside.
I think they're going to show up. I think they're about ready for another bounce back. But I mean, man, I cannot wait. It's going to be a good weekend. And
yeah, that's right. It's one of these tough weekends. We'll watch some of the practice tomorrow, and then I have to turn off my phone so I don't see any social media when we're at the track.
That's what you have to do.
I know.
Just turn the phone off. You can't open any kind of media because you're going to get spoiled. I learned that a long time ago.
Well, a lot of times, yeah, especially at the track. A lot of times the only thing I check is basically the weather or see if my better half has sent me a message if I'm there solo. I mean, but yeah, people try to get a hold of me at the track where, like, man, I shut my phone off. I can live without my phone for 10 hours or whatever. It's not a big deal.
Oh yeah. We somebody was giving us some heat, like on the Florida Moto Talk page, when I had posted some kind of result pretty quick, man. And I
Oops,
think
oops.
it was Tristan. Yeah, it was like, man, I haven't even seen it yet. I'm like, look, it's been a couple hours. You should expect it at this point,
That's
But
right.
I think we're gonna do like an hour buffer before I start going crazy with the MotoGP post again. So just stay offline.
Right. Stay
Just stay
offline.
offline because we're
Ignorance
gonna
is
be
bliss.
we're gonna be posting memes and stuff because we got to do better about that. 'Cause there's lots to talk about.
Yeah.
Um,
So so crazy. Like like I'd mentioned before, like so how when we were whatever talking a couple of days ago, how things have changed over the last. I mean, this podcast maybe could be completely obsolete. 40 a week from now, maybe.
yeah,
But well, we'll
yeah,
see. I guess we'll see how anything pans out. How if any of these predictions are going to be true or not.
yeah, and we'll see. I think it's good timing on this video too because I mean there were some rumors that there might be an announcement this weekend.
That's
So
right.
So we'll see how accurate our predictions were, but I think we're pretty solid in our predictions. But yeah,
Yeah,
if we
because then
can,
they have was it 2 or 3 weeks until the next round at Austin, I believe.
mhm.
So that's the rumor mill is just gonna be chugging along for we'll see what happens, I guess.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. Oh, I know Andy's excited too. MotoGP, once again, if you're not watching it, just start watching it because I mean, what are sports like with balls anyways? There's no machines. They're not going 230 miles per hour, defying death on every corner, bumping elbows and everything else.
Yeah, crazy, man.
And then
So
you get the stories. Yeah, then all the storylines outside of the track. I mean, it's proper entertainment. If you haven't checked in, definitely tune in.
absolutely. So well, too bad we won't see you this weekend, there, John. So when is your? I have to ask you, when is your next? When's your next race?
It was supposed to be the Roebling round in July, but
Okay,
my family's planning a trip now. They want to go down to go down to Miami the same weekend. So we're gonna see how I can work that out, or maybe we can change like vacation plans or something.
gotcha.
Um,
Yeah, that's why I didn't. Well, one of the reasons I didn't go to Cycle Jam last weekend because we were not in town. So we're going to drive back on Friday, just pack up the trailer and drive another 5 hours to
oh
Atlanta.
man, yeah,
No, I
rough.
wasn't going to do that. No.
But yeah, but that's the plan. I mean, hopefully I can get back out there soon because it's been a little while at this point. So need to get back
All
on
right.
there. Been watching too much, but man, thanks for hopping on the show.
No, no worries.
It I could talk about racing all night, just like
Yeah,
you.
I know. It's just going to cut it off somewhere, I guess. So we'll see.
Yeah,
Have the follow up. Tristan can have a follow up and see how everything falls out.
yeah, man. We'll try to get Tristan back on here soon too. He's got a couple things that he's dealing with. So we'll get him back on here once he gets some personal issues worked out for sure. But definitely thinking about him too. Yeah, it's Thursday night, so tomorrow we are getting at it. So until then, everybody tune in and hopefully you enjoyed the show and we will catch you next time.
All right. Thanks, John.
Yeah, man.
Have yourself a good weekend. Enjoy your time off, even if you're not going to be going to the track.
Yeah, I'll be watching racing. I'll be watching it.
Oh,
Just
that's right.
looking at my
Well,
motorcycle.
look at it that way. Instead of sitting in the car driving up to Alabama, you just sit on the couch and hit that. Watch every practice you want, and all the
Yep.
interviews and the pregame show and all the Moto 3, Moto 2, everything. So just
That's
turn the
it.
live stream on at whatever comes on, probably like at 4 in the morning, and you're all set for the rest of the
Good.
day.
No sleep.